gear up for game day at Pro-Am Sports. They got the jerseys with the names and the numbers stitched on. They got the car flags as well. You can find all of that at Pro-Am Sports. Hop online at proamsports.ca or just go visit them just north of the Yellowhead, 128th Ave and St. Albert Trail. Mr. Button, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. It's nice to see you're not doing yoga in your Moose Jaw hotel room this morning.
Well, I told the boys, like when I got here last night, we're staying at what's it called, Temple Gardens, and there's like a huge jacuzzi right in the room here. So I had a great soak last night, Craig. I'm feeling pretty good for Game 3 of the WHL Final tonight.
Why is the show not being done from the jacuzzi? The jacuzzi show. Like, come on, there's opportunity that doesn't present itself all the time.
Funny story, because I'm walking back from dinner last night with Kevin Sawyer, and I said, man, I should just do the show from the jacuzzi tomorrow. And I said, we have Button on. I think he would love that. So it's funny that you brought that up. I was like, I think Craig could have a pretty good time with it. We're going to get to Oilers Canucks just quickly on this WHL final right now, man. The Moose Jaw Warriors, like Jagger Firkus and Savoy and Braden Yeager and Matej, like they're a really well-constructed hockey team. The Warriors are good.
They are, right? And so what I would say is Portland's a really good team, and they just don't have the same level of skill as the Moose Jaw Warriors. And, you just named 4 players that just run the show there. And from a skill point of view, as good as Portland is, they have nobody that can match, that group. And certainly, Unger in the net is just, he's just gone and done his job in there. And Spooner was unbelievable in that series versus Prince George. Next 3 games in Moose Jaw, the Quebec is 3-0 for Drummondville, 3-0 for London and Ontario. A win tonight for the Warriors, and we're going to know our Memorial Cup teams by Friday.
Immediately. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Craig Button with us on the show. Craig, as you can expect, it's been a pretty interesting conversation this morning here in the morning of Game 4 between the Vancouver Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers. And when you look at this series right now, Craig, like Susi suspended, that's big. We're trying to figure out if they're going to go with Skinner or Pickard. That's big. They played McDavid and Draisaitl for literally half the hockey game last game. That's big. What's the biggest X factor, do you think, right now in this series?
I think it's the goaltender. And, you got Sheahan at the one end who's been brilliant. And the last 2 games for the Edmonton Oilers, like, quite literally, they have obliterated the Vancouver Canucks. They've obliterated them. The Vancouver Canucks, I think they were a little bit more, to use JT Miller's word, a little bit more structured, more like allowing them a little. You can't spend half your time in your own zone and expect to win hockey games. And that's what the Vancouver Canucks did in Game 3. And why was that? It was because Stuart Skinner wasn't good enough. Stuart Skinner simply wasn't good enough. You get domination like that. And I, on Sunday, I talked about 6 forwards, 7 forwards, not giving the Edmonton Oilers enough. But in fairness to them, they're not getting outplayed. They're not getting beat. You'd like to see them give a little bit more. But the guy that is getting beat is Skinner. It's it's demoralizing for a team to play that well. And for the Vancouver Canucks, in my view, they're just looking at, hey, listen, if we don't care if we give up 3, we don't care if we give up 4, because we can get 4 or 5 on Skinner. And I think that we can look at this in 2 ways. The Edmonton Oilers put themselves in this spot because Calvin Pickard is a number 3 goaltender in an organization. Now, he became number 2 because Jack Campbell was so bad. But that being said, I don't know if you can go with Skinner in Game 4. I don't know if you can go with Skinner in Game 4.
Yeah, I think the main case to go to Pickard is what you kind of just said about Skinner demoralizing the group with his play. Maybe with Pickard, and they don't need Pickard to be brilliant.
No,
they just need him to stop the shots that he should stop, and it could be enough for them in this series. So that's going to be a really interesting discussion. What about on the other side here? Like, Sheahan was amazing last game. How do you get this guy off his game, or how do they find a way to finish a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I love what Leon Draisaitl said after the game on Sunday. He just said, yeah, we can beat them. We got to bear down a little bit more in front of the net, in and around the net, find some of those rebounds. Chris Knobloch said the same thing. When you're doing things well, and we use the word process, and process related, the Edmonton Oilers are doing lots of things well. But how do you complete the process? So completing the process to score goals is digging in and bearing down a little bit harder in those areas. And it's not that they aren't, but when you got a goaltender like Sheahan, you're going to have to do that a little bit more. One suggestion I would have for the Edmonton Oilers, too, I mean, Sheahan is a big goaltender. And we hear, go to the net, go to the net. I think they got to give themselves 3-4 feet outside of that, because Sheahan is so big, and when you get in too tight on him, you can't get the puck around him. So give yourself 3 or 4 feet just in front of him. Like when the shot goes, don't jam up at the top of the blue. Just give yourself 3 or 4 feet. You're going to have more net to work with. You're going to have a little bit more room to maneuver and be able to beat them. Because once you get in tight on a big goaltender like that, there's no place for the puck to go unless it squeaks through a hole. So he's been really good. He's been really aggressive. Just give yourself a little bit more space to operate, and I think it's an area they can take advantage of because there's loose pucks around the net. They can beat the defenders to the net and get to those pucks. That's where I would. That's the one. Bear down a little bit more, but be a little bit smarter in your bearing down. Not that they're not smart, but just that little tactical adjustment.
So, Craig, just going off this, and we got your thoughts on the goaltending. Fans yesterday talking about maybe some changes to the forward group, a few additions and a few subtractions here or there. Of course, McDavid and Draisaitl, the half hour of ice time together. Is there anything you would change to the forward group, either at the top or the bottom, given what you just said? And I appreciate your comments on that. They are in it. They're playing in it. Fans are quick to kind of go and make all these changes, but would you kind of just run this thing back again in hopes that Sheahan isn't going to stand on his head again and get this group the confidence, or would you kind of look at shifting and moving some pieces around up in that forward group?
Yeah, Eric, I think when you spend 30 minutes in the offensive zone of your opponent, I mean, I think there's, and like I said, I might have been a little bit harder on the group of 6-7 forwards and say they didn't lose the game. They didn't get overwhelmed. So Sam Carrick. I mean, you traded for Sam Carrick. Is Sam Carrick hurt? I mean, I'm not aware that he's hurt. I know Henrique is hurt.
He could play. He's not hurt.
I would get Sam Carrick in there. One of the things that the Edmonton Oilers have, or Vancouver has, is some size. I would get Sam Carrick in there. He's got some feistiness. He's got some bite. So I would definitely get him in there. I'd get Derek Ryan out. Derek Ryan to me would be the only move I would make. In terms of moving players around, I don't know what more you could ask. I'm not worried about, like I said, that those fine details in and around Sheahan's net. It's not hoping. It's like making a little fine adjustment. But other than putting Carrick in, and that would be the only thing that I would change. I would put Carrick in and switch Ryan out.
Craig Button with us on the show this morning from TSN, brought to you by our great partners over at Pro-Am Sports. Craig, according to Twitter yesterday, I saw that you did suspend Carson Susi for one game. Was that a tough decision for you to make? Did you see these people on Twitter yesterday? I love it. He's like, I see Craig Button's started a campaign for Susi to be suspended for a game. Like you have any sort of say on any of it. I mean, was it? Do you think it was an easy call for them to give him a game, or what?
I made the call on Sunday night, so I didn't need a hearing. I didn't need a hearing for Carson Susi to tell me he didn't intend to hit him in the head. I mean, I know he didn't try to hit him in the head, but he did, and that needed to be a suspension. So yeah. I mean, it was mere minutes after the game that I suspended. No hearing. It was done. There was no campaign. My comment, I think, was pretty clear. I said anything less than a suspension would be unacceptable, and they wouldn't be doing their job in the Department of Player Safety. And certainly, and don't kid yourself, they phone me all the time to ask me what my opinion is, and certainly, I get a lot of say in there. So for all the fans out there, I do have lots to say, and I do campaign.
But it's like, I'm trying to think. And I think it doesn't. It all comes down to if an Oilers goaltender starts playing well, whoever it is. But you look at sort of these key moments in series as a possible turning point. For them having Susi out for a game, do you think how much does this impact things?
Well, again, it's a big defender out of the lineup, right? So it's a big defender out of the lineup. Now you got to put in your seventh defenseman, and he's got to play a lot. I mean, indications are no Julesen's going in, and no Juleson, but he now has to enter a series. And I mean, based on the way the Edmonton Oilers have played in the offensive zone, he's going to have to really defend. And one thing Rick Tocchet has had confidence in is having Susi out there against McDavid and Draisaitl. And certainly you lose him in your lineup. I mean, that's something, the big body is something that you certainly lose. So it's going to tax the other defenders. And how does Rick Tocchet use Noah Juleson? It is going to be limited minutes. I mean, I watched the Dallas series. They're winning that series with 5 defensemen. Nils Lundkvist plays, single-digit minutes because he is literally a defender that just can't get into the game on a regular basis. So I think that could happen. It's another opportunity for the Edmonton Oilers to take advantage. So that's a loss for the Vancouver Canucks, and something that Edmonton has to take advantage of.
Craig, before I let you go, I mean, does all this conversation really not matter anyway with the way the Dallas Stars are looking right now? Like, they just look like an absolute wagon taking it to Colorado the way that they did last night.
Well, you're looking at the best team in the Western Conference, right? So,
yeah.
So we shouldn't be surprised. They lost the first 2 games to the Vegas Golden Knights, and since that moment in time, they're 7-2, and I mean, they are rolling. And certainly, you watch the way they play. That they're strong, they're deep. The goal, like Jake Ottinger has found his game. They are wagging, and certainly there's no indication that Colorado now is going to be able to win 3. They lose Nichushkin, obviously, because of off-ice issues, and I don't think they can overcome it. Now, that being said, when we look at Dallas, getting Game 5 gives them a little bit of rest, and then that team will be hoping that Vancouver and Edmonton grind it right down to 7. But I think tonight's game is really simple. If Edmonton gets adequate goaltending, just adequate goaltending, not sub-800 save percentage goaltending, they'll win. If they don't get adequate goaltending, they could be down 3-1 going into Vancouver for Game 5.
Craig, as always, man, we appreciate it. We'll catch up next week.
I need a picture from the jacuzzi, please, and that would be nice. We'll post it.
We'll see you later, man. That is Craig Martin with TSN. He's going to be really disturbed when about 11:30 tonight I send him a picture from the jacuzzi.